Hello everyone and welcome to another Broken Meeple Blitz review. I've got a special one for you today. You may have recently just seen me talk about Hanamikoji, one of my favourite two-player games of all time, with great expansions and little tuck boxes that basically took this game from a 10 to an 11. It is such a good game, definitely worth your money. Apparently, we now have a sequel called Geisha's Road. Same company, Empress 4, and this is basically a sequel to Hanamikoji. In fact, it's such a sequel that if I was to put the two alongside each other, at a distance you wouldn't actually be able to tell them apart. It's the same street, it's just a different angle and an extra person in it. Other than that, the writing's the same, the colour scheme's the same, the format of the, like that. It's even got Hanamikoji in the corner. They look that similar from a distance, but do not be fooled. This one's a bit of a bigger beast than the other one. This both for 2 players, and one that was 15 minutes. This was a 15-minute game. This one quotes 25 minutes. That's about accurate. This is more like twice the length of Hanamikoji, this one, but it needs to be. So what exactly are you doing in Geisha's Road? Well, here you have that same mechanism that you had from Hanamikoji. 4 action tiles with the geisha that you're trying to influence in the middle with cards that belong to those particular geisha, right? So if you don't know how to play it, check out my Beyond the Base Game review or have a look on BGG for the rules, but it's a very simplistic game. But what Geisha Road does is essentially takes that mechanism and then adds a rondel mechanic onto it. So not only are you playing these cards in order to influence different like geisha cards in the middle, but you're also moving actual geisha, little standees here, around a rondel of these cards. Where are they? Try and grab them at the bottom there. So these building cards, and basically they'll be in a ring, and these standees will move around the ring based on the cards you play in a round.
I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
If you're able to return a geisha to its original building, they start, let's for example, here's like the red one with the fan. If it starts on the red and it moves around the rondel and comes back to the red card, you get these special lantern cards, which are basically victory points. So they start off low, get progressively higher, and then, they are victory points at the end of the round. But then how do you earn the lantern points? Well, you need to influence that geisha in order to actually get the victory points. You can see where I'm going, that this is a bit of a brain burny version of it. It definitely requires a bit more thought. So, for example, let's just try and get like a very basic setup. I won't be able to show too much on camera, but let's just say we got like, three like geisha cards there. The idea is that you will have these in the middle. So actually, let's move those out of the way. You get the point. So I'm going to put these just like there. So these will be in the middle, and these basically reflect the 5 different color geisha, and you will have these very familiar cards from the previous edition, but with a new backing, which are the various item cards with the numbers on them that go from 1 to 4 this time, no 5s. And there's only so many of each one. I think there's the same amount for each one, equal distribution, so it's not quite like the previous version. So you've got your familiar 4 action tiles with slightly tweaked effects from before, although there are some similarities. And again, you resolve them in any order you like, with more information during the round and more choice at the start, similar to what you had before. And you have a hand of cards and you draw 1 card at the start of every turn. You're noticing some similarities here. Well, the idea is, though, is that every time you play a card with one of these actions, every time a card gets played, not only does it go on the various side of the colour, so blue, yellow, green, whatever, but the number is what moves the geisha around the rondel. So if I play a 4 green via one of these actions that goes on my side, I move the green geisha 4 spaces, and I'm aiming to try and land the geisha on their original building to get those lantern points. The thing is, the player who owns those lantern points is whoever influences that geisha at the end of the round. So yes, I have managed to, for example, place a 1 pink down. The geisha has landed on their pink building. Great. There's 4 lantern points waiting for whoever influences that pink geisha. Oh wait, that's only a 1. The opponent then, by whatever other cards, decides, let's see if I can find the example, play a 3 and a 2 on their side, moving the pink geisha some more, but now my opponent influences the pink geisha, which means those lantern points that I generated now go to my opponent. So basically what this is doing is it's taking the original premise of Hanamikoji and turning not the complexity, but the turn angst of oh, what decisions will I do? Up to 15. It's kind of ridiculous what it does. And that's before you throw in the mini expansion in the backs. Yeah, there's more. Did I mention there was more? Basically, you have these guest tokens. And what you have is that these are placed on the various building tiles. Some will be placed on the red one, the yellow one, and so on. And they are guests. And basically, when you play lower numbered cards, you get to pick up 1 or 2 guests from the building that they land on, but you don't pick up any with 3 or 4. And there are points for a diverse set of guests of different colours, and there's also points for having having lots of a particular colour. A bit like what Majesty for the Realm kind of does. And when you throw these in especially, oh my word, the turns are hard to do. I actually kind of recommend that you don't throw these in your first game, just so that you can get used to the added rondel side of things, because not only are you now having to think, right, hang on a minute, I need to think, how far is that geisha going to move? Right, that geisha is going to move like 3 or 4 spaces, that's fine, 1 or 2, I don't know, it's 2 away from their building. Right, so I could play one of these cards, but I have to use a particular action tile. So do I use the one that says I put 2 pairs down, they pick 2 and I pick 2? Or do I choose the one that means I get to score, play 1 now? Well, I'm only playing 1 card here, but I could play 2, but then my opponent picks which 2. They're going to be knowing what I know. What do I do? And then, even then, it's like, okay, I've grabbed lantern points. But now I need to try and actually influence the geisha at the end of the round, otherwise those lantern points go to the opponent. And then, well, if I play a large card, I'm not going to get any guests. I could really use a yellow and a blue guest.
What happened to then? We passed that. When? Just now. We're at now. Go back to then.
It is quite insane. Now, what this does mean, though, is that Geisha's Road, I'll cut straight to the point, is a really good fun game. It's a really good 2-player game, just like Hanamikoji. But it's a different market. And it's also probably a bit more restricted for that reason. Hanamikoji has the advantage of being great for light gamers and heavy gamers alike. You know, there are all sorts of people I have taught this game to and they've all liked it. But I can teach this to somebody who's never seen games before. And even though it might take them a game to get used to the new mechanics of this sort of thing, it doesn't take them long to tweak it, and then it's just a case of getting better at the game. So this I can teach to anybody, and I have taught it to many new players before. Geisha's Road, on the other hand, though, I would not throw anywhere near a new gateway gamer. Or, to be honest, even a light gamer for that fact. I mean, maybe a light gamer, but certainly not a new one, because the complexity of the decisions you have to make now go way above what I feel would be comfortable for a light gamer to do. This is definitely more the mid to heavy gamer version of this. Not to say that it's stupidly heavy, but it's just, it takes it out of that realm of being suitable for new players. You could play Hanamikoji, and then once they're really comfortable with this, you could then get Geisha's Road and start playing the next level up. But you have to accept that this is not new friendly. And for that reason, I would say Hanamikoji is still the better of the 2. But that's basically like saying, do I think salted caramel ice cream is better than mint chocolate chip ice cream? I love both, okay? Comparing the 2 is not exactly fair. It's just a very different market. The rules are not difficult to learn either. I mean, it is still just basically another, rule sheet, 2 sides. But you do have to kind of just focus on it a little bit to understand, oh, wait a minute, so how do the guests work? How does playing the cards work with the rondel? And guests has got its own little sheet anyway, so the guests are basically like a paragraph of text on this card. So they're very easy to throw in rules-wise, but hard to implement in terms of actually doing well at this game. It's insane. But you get a lot for the price point, really. I mean, here you've got nice looking standees with bases. You've got, decent tarot size, very nicely illustrated buildings, both day and night. You've got the center cards. You've got all the item cards, which actually have colored borders rather than the black ones from the new Hanamikoji one. You've even got reference cards, so it tells you how you move and receive guests and how many points they're worth at the end of the game. And the other one tells you what you do on your turn, what the 4 action tiles do, and what the aim of the game is and how you score points. Which I'm glad they did, because I think if they didn't put any reference aids in this, it would be quite hard for people to remember what's what. These solve that problem. And of course, cardboard tiles, it's very well produced and nicely illustrated. So, all in all, really love this game. This game is great, but it's more thinky. Does take it out of the realm of the light gamers. It's definitely the heavier version, and for that reason I don't know how often I'm going to get this to the table in comparison to Hanamikoji, but it's still, I think, really, really cool. It's like the next step up. You wanted Hanamikoji to be more meaty? Well, you got your wish. You got Geisha's Road, and believe me, if this isn't meaty enough for you, then I don't really know how you could possibly make it any more thinky. You know, what do you want from them, okay? You know, come on, have some limits. So rating this is kind of hard, really, because overall, I'm going to play Hanamikoji more. It's just going to happen because I'm going to play it with all sorts of different people. But I do really like Geisha's Road as well. But they're very similar games. They both use the same mechanic. It's just this one has a bit bolted on top. So I don't want to say that one of them is, like, let's say this was on my top 100. I don't want to say, oh, my number X is Hanamikoji, and then completely ignore Geisha's Road, because they are very similar games. It's just basically intermediate level or beginner level and advanced level. That's essentially what it is. But I feel they both deserve the same rating. This is, for what you get in the box, a really fun, thinky game. And I think Geisha's Road deserves an equal measure of a 10 out of 10 rating. It's just so much game packed into a small box, and even though it's not as accessible as the other one, I think that alone is not enough to take this down to a 9 out of 10, you know, because some people might argue that this one is too simple for heavy gamers, in which case you get the same potential problem in reverse. So this one is just well produced, well illustrated, really thinky, such a clever mechanism. I love this action tile selection with the angsty decisions you've got to make, and it's basically a case of, I've got my advanced version of Hanamikoji. It's easily the best game that Emperor S4 has produced, and this is another solid hit. If you're a fan of Hanamikoji, you've got to grab this one. It really is solid. So that's it for this bit's review of Geisha's Road in the Hanamikoji series. I'll be very keen to see if they can do a third in this, and if they do, I'm in. You know, bring it on, I say, Emperor S4. Although, let's not make it too complex now, because I think we've kind of reached the upper echelon here. But that's it for me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple Blitz review. If you like what you see, please remember to leave a thumbs up and a comment. It means the world to me to know you appreciate the content. Are you fans of Hanamikoji? Do you have an interest in Geisha's Road? Do you think that this is going to be too hard for you now and take it out of your sort of level of fun? Or are you really keen to get a bit more meat in your Hanamikoji game? Let me know in the comments. It'll be interested to know your thoughts. Don't forget that this channel is sponsored by zatu.co.uk, and if you want to check out more content on the channel, you can check out the Beyond the Base Game review that I did of the Hanamikoji mini expansions, or you can check out my Ultra review of Descent Legends in the Dark, where I go into detail about that £130 monstrosity. Take care, and remember, as always, it's only a game. Bye for now, everyone.